Here's Deion on the Say What Needs to Be Said podcast.
The Bible says God uses the foolish things to confound the wise. So it was some foolish stuff that went on, but you know what? That gave them something that they needed. Like that gave them something that they said, all right, that edge that Tom had, it gave them that edge. It gave them that edge that you had. It gave them the edge that I have. When folks say we're gonna be nothing, we weren't gonna be nothing, but we had to prove that. That gave them the edge that they needed. Both of them. When you sit up there and say something like he went in a meeting unprepared, like, dude, Shador Sanders, who's had 6 different coordinators, who has still functioned and leveled up every time we brought somebody new in, and you're gonna tell me
every situation.
You're gonna tell me he had on headphones. Shador, anybody know my son, understand he's a professional. Like, he's gonna go into a meeting with headphones on. Like, y'all come on, man.
What I hear from Deion is the difference in parents today and our parents. Okay? What Deion's saying is, hey, I know my son. He wouldn't be on headphones. He wouldn't be disrespectful. He's a professional. Yet there are multiple reports coming from multiple sources within the same meeting saying the exact same thing. What happened when I was a kid is a teacher would call home or the vice principal would call home, and there would be okay, thank you so much for calling. Click. And do you remember the scene? I think it was Tombstone. I think it was Kirk Russell. You tell him I'm coming and hell's coming with me. Is that the quote from Tombstone, Jay Stu? That seems like Jay Stu would have more knowledge of that.
It sounds right. It's a great movie. I'm not totally up to speed on it.
That's how it felt like when my dad or mom would hang up that phone, knowing the vice principal or your teacher called and they click like, uh-oh, right? There wasn't any of this, well, what did you say? What did you do? When a parent calls a coach now, they don't ask about the kid. They're like, why aren't you playing my kid? Instead of what can my kid do better to earn more minutes? And Deion's sitting there going, I know my son. He's been through 6. No one's disputing he's been through 6 coordinators. If he's been through 6 different coordinators, then he should have an unbelievable array of verbiage and knowledge and different ways of seeing the game. He should walk in and blow them away with his professionalism. But he did not. Deion blaming the coaches in the system or the GMs or the scouts or whatever is no different than you as a parent or me as a parent blaming the other kids, the teacher, the TA, the vice principal, the principal, somebody else on campus that works for the school. That's all it is. And that's what we do nowadays with kids is you call home or a kid gets in trouble and suddenly it becomes, well, the teacher didn't do X, Y, and Z, not about the kid. Right? And that, I do get it that it felt like when we were kids, the pendulum was too far swung the other way. But Deion's trying to jump in on the swing of it and playing the victim. I don't buy it.
Isn't it like this? Like, I think the most indicting thing was that one comment from one of the GMs. It was he treated it like a recruiting trip and not a job interview. And the reason why we believe that is because that's probably how Deion did it. The difference is Shador wasn't of the stature of Deion coming out of college.
Sure.
But do you doubt that at all, that Deion treated those professional interviews like recruiting trips?
I do not. I do not. And, trying to predetermine who's going to do what and where they're going to do it. Yeah, I don't. I think part of it is Deion's not showing any accountability of himself. Don't go God and Bible on us. Like, it just sounds so phony. It just sounds so phony. You were the one telling us he's only going to play for a certain couple number of teams. I won't let him do this. I won't let him do that. And then all of a sudden, like he clearly acts arrogantly towards people, and they're turned off by it. And your response is, I know my son. He's a professional. He wouldn't do it. And Bible verse that doesn't actually relate to what his son is. And again, Shador didn't commit any crime. Like, we're not sitting here saying he's a bad human being. But there's a limited number of teams that wanted a starting quarterback, and fewer still that saw him as a breakthrough starting quarterback. Like, even the Browns, right? Dylan Gabriel is not an NFL quarterback by my estimation. Again, I don't evaluate quarterbacks for a living. I could be wrong. It doesn't feel like a backup quarterback. But it feels like they drafted him because they didn't want to have to draft Shador. And he is the anti-Shador in that, man, he just is so happy to be there. He is so, what's the word I'm looking for? He's just so respectful of it. And you don't get that from Shador and Deion. But Deion Sanders going the classic parent playbook from 2025, blaming everybody but his kid. I know my kid. My kid would never do that. That sounds like every parent who calls any coach or any teacher in 2025. Whereas dial it back 40 years ago, and when we would screw up, we would be held accountable.